Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, our main focus is how we can deploy FortiGate Firewall on ESXi host. And the agenda of our today's session is we will start from introduction to FortiGate. Then we will discuss the prerequisites and preparation of how we can do this lab together. After that, we will do the installation and initial setup, and of course, basic configuration. And interactive labs for participants. So if you have the environment ready, I will also help you in the in the end of the session, that how you can prepare your own lab. Regarding this session, so once we are done with the session, you can find my lecture on my YouTube channel, right? Okay, let me introduce myself. I think most of you already are familiar and they are connected with me somehow on different platforms. My name is Kashif Ali, and I belong to a village called Pir Baba. It's in district Bunair, KP province, Pakistan. Currently, I'm doing my PhD in computer sciences, and I'm working as inside solution architect at one of the US-based IT solutions company named Zones. Part of that, I'm also a visiting lecturer in the University of Agriculture, Peshawar. And give me 1 second, guys. I think someone is knocking. I'm sorry for that. So this is my introduction. And the reason I'm delivering this session is this is basically a series of my VMware vExpert webinar series. So if maybe you are not familiar with vExpert. vExpert is basically a recognition from VMware. And the main reason they give you the recognition is to sharing your knowledge with the community. So which is why I arranged this session so that I can share my expertise with you guys so that you guys can learn about VMware technologies and how you can deploy different firewalls on the VMware platform. If you want to connect with me, this is my LinkedIn profile. I'm also available on X, Facebook, Instagram, and this is my channel, Kashif Buneri IT Trainer. So you can connect with me and we can share our experience with each other. Let's start with introduction to FortiGate. FortiGate is basically a next generation firewall, right? And I think majority of you are familiar with firewall. So what is firewall? So you are already familiar that firewall basically protects our data, right? By deploying firewall in our environment, we can protect our network, right? So FortiGate is a next generation firewall. Next generation means that it has advanced features, right? There are a lot of things. So you can visit the FortiGate website and you can find the features of the FortiGate firewall there. So let me tell you one thing. In this session, I'm not going to teach you or explain what is firewall, and that is, I'm not focusing on the ESXi virtualization. The purpose of this session is that if you have a customer or if you are working in an organization and they have ESXi there and they want to deploy a FortiGate firewall. And the good thing is once you learn this thing, I will do the labs as well. So you can apply the same settings for different firewalls like Sophos, Checkpoint, I think Palo Alto, right? So you can configure the same settings for the other firewall as well. What is virtual next generation firewall? So virtual next generation firewall is basically a VM, virtual appliance, right? So it runs the same operating system as FortiGate next generation firewall. So this is basically a hardware based. So when you visit the FortiGate, Fortinet website, you can find these hardwares, right? So if you do not want to purchase the hardware and you want to deploy a FortiGate VM, that is something also available. And you can see here. Where is my pen? I'm checking my pen here. Where is that? I'm looking for my pen. I don't see it. Okay, I can see it now. So you can see here. You can visit FortiGate website and you can see there are FortiGate VMs available for Ali Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, AWS, Azure, Google, Hyper-V, IBM, KVM. So our main focus is this one today. We will focus on the VMware ESXi portion, right? And let me show you the next.
So it has came for different operating system.
Let me tell you. Basically,
Platform. So platform. I think
yeah,
it's come with
different.
different platform. Whichever you want use, you can download that OVA file.
Exactly.
Correct, na?
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. So
Virtual
I think
appliance.
this is new feature, na?
I think this feature is available in different firewalls right now. So you know that these days virtualization technology is very common, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
let's say you have a network environment, right? And you want to protect your network environment. Guys, I'm really sorry. Just give me. So let me tell you one. Let me draw a diagram for you people. Let's keep it very simple. For example, you have a Cisco switch. I'm also promoting
Uh,
Cisco technologies these
for
days.
I think for AWS that appliance automatic already available on that platform portal, or we need
Yep.
to download and
No, it is available.
available, na? Okay.
Yep.
So we need to insert only license for this.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let me create a lab for you people. This is our lab, right? We got 5 machines. They are connected to a switch. It could be TP-Link, Cisco, Juniper, Huawei, whatever technology you are using, right? This is the network. And let's say this is the internet, right? And the internet is connected to the ISP. This is your ISP. In Pakistan, we have PTCL. I think in India, you got Airtel. What are the ISPs used in India? Kong, which ISP are you using in Japan?
Yeah, that is like KDDI or Docomo and SoftBank. So they are the main provider.
Okay. In Pakistan, we have Nayatel, PTCL, Storm Fiber. So let's say this is your environment. You can see here. This is my scenario. This network is not secure, right? So people deploy firewall. So where they deploy firewall, they basically install a firewall here. So let's say they purchase a box, right? And the box is connected to the network. Then that box is connected to directly ISP, or let's say it has a DSL modem, right? So that is the story. So this is basically a normal scenario. This is a very basic scenario, right? As I explained that I'm not going to teach you the different architecture of the firewall because FortiGate training is itself a very big training and it has certifications and there are some free trainings available at the end of the session. I will also send some links and you guys can start learning FortiGate Firewall. So this is very basic environment. This is my network. So if you have to implement a firewall, let's say you want to go for FortiGate, you will need to purchase a hardware, a dedicated box, which you can find on their website. Let me visit their website. Let me show you. Give me 1 second. Let's go there. Let me write FortiGate firewall. Once you click here, these are the boxes. You need to get this box and then you will need to deploy them. So this is option 1, right? What is option 2? And that is this one. We will deploy a virtual appliance. We will download the virtual appliance from the Fortinet website. And then on top of the hypervisor, we will deploy it. So what is included in our session today? Basically, in our session, we will focusing on this one. So let's say we got a hardware, right? This is our server hardware. And on top of the server hardware, we have ESXi installed. ESXi is a hypervisor, right? And then we got some virtual machines, my databases, my domain controller, and some other VMs are running here. These are some virtual machines running on top of the hardware. This is my normal scenario. We got 3 virtual machines. So what we can do, we can deploy the FortiGate virtual machine, virtual appliance on this hardware. So this is our main focus today. How to deploy it, how to configure the network settings, and all these things, right? So that is our main focus. And you can see here. These are the hardwares and these are the virtual appliance. So you can use that. Let's start with ESXi. That what is VMware ESXi? Basically, ESXi is a bare metal hypervisor that installed directly onto your physical server. So this is the ESXi host. This is the hypervisor I have deployed. And if you want to work on that, you can open a browser and you can access your host. So this is the host. If you guys don't know what is ESXi, and if you want to learn about ESXi, and if you want to implement this lab, you can visit my YouTube channel. I posted some videos. You can go there. Once you visit there, in videos, you can find a lecture regarding this one. VMware ESXi installation and configuration. Let me share the link with you guys in the chat box so you guys can have it. This is the link. If you want to implement this lab on your laptop, first you need to install ESXi. Install the ESXi. Once you install it, then you can access your host using browser like this. So this is the host, ESXi. right? So this is the platform, VMware Hypervisor. We got VMware Workstation. We got Hyper-V, VirtualBox, VMware Fusion, Proxmox, Citrix Hypervisor. I think Nutanix has its own hypervisor. But our main focus is today is VMware ESXi. What are the prerequisites in preparation of doing this lab? So first of all, you need a hardware. It could be a laptop, it could be a desktop, and it could be a server. In production environment, they have a dedicated hardware to virtualize them using ESXi. So at least 2 CPU cores are required, 8 GB physical RAM, but recommended is 12 GB, right? But in production environment, it could be more than that, 64 GB RAM, 128 GB RAM. And for ESXi installation, you need 32 GB RAM storage. But if you want to run some other virtual machines like databases, so obviously you need more than that. So it depends. This is the first requirement, right? The first thing, you need to do this thing. What are the second requirements? You need to download the FortiGate virtual machine from Fortinet website, and only 1 GB RAM is minimum required, but you can change it to 2 GB RAM. Depends on how many network adapters you are going to attach. As I mentioned, our lab will be very basic. So we will use only 2 virtual network adapters on the FortiGate virtual machine. And let me tell you, let me remove this thing. So whenever, if you have attended some of the firewall trainings, maybe your instructor have told you that every firewall has at least minimum 2 network adapters. One adapter will be connected to the LAN and the other will be connected to WAN. So let's assume that this is the WAN interface and this one is the LAN interface, right? Let's say my WAN interface IP address is 19.160 and the LAN interface IP address is, for example, 50.1, right?
So is it possible to WAN link insert on the WAN port? There are available 2 WAN port or not?
Yes. I got your point. So your question is that let's say you have a firewall, right? And you have one connection from, let's say, PTCL, and you have another ISP, right? And that is, let's say, Storm Fiber. So that is
Yeah.
also possible. So it will be WAN 1 and that will be WAN 2. So that is possible.
Okay.
And I think no one will deploy a firewall with single WAN, right? But
No, actually, somewhere mostly in corporate side mostly use on load balancer before the firewall using load balancer, and then load balancer handle the both ISP and different ISP.
I got your point. So yes, some of the firewall, let's say, I will mention Microtech, right? So Microtech has the load balancing capability available. So if your question is that does FortiGate Firewall support different WANs? I think that is your question.
Sorry?
Is your question is that FortiGate Firewall support multiple WANs port or not?
Yeah. Same thing.
I believe yes. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. If anyone here is the FortiGate expert.
No, I am not a FortiGate expert. That's
Yep.
why I'm asking to,
No.
because
Farhad is here. Farhad just mentioned that yes, we can connect multiple WAN links in the FortiGate firewall to the FortiGate firewall. So in that case, we will need three interfaces. One for WAN 1, the other end is for WAN 2, and this is my LAN, right? But I will keep it very simple as I mentioned, because I just want to give you an overview that how you can deploy a virtual appliance of the FortiGate firewall on the ESXi host, right? That is my main focus today, right? Any question? Are we clear, guys?
yeah.
Okay. And Sajjad also mentioned that it depends on the FortiGate uh, model, I believe. So he mentioned that FortiGate has different series, E30, E60, E100, etc., etc. So that's good. Okay. So the first thing we are going to install ESXi hypervisor, right? So if you want to implement this lab, you need a hardware, right? Let's say you have a separate hardware, dedicated hardware. It could be Dell, HPE, any hardware. Then on top of the hardware, you will install ESXi, right? ESXi hypervisor. So step number 1, download ESXi ISO image from the website. So let me visit here. You can simply write VMware ESXi download. Once you do that, right, it will give you a link, but maybe the link will not work because VMware has now acquired by Broadcom. So you will need to create an account in the Broadcom site, and after that you should be able to download the ISO images. But I have never downloaded the ISO image of the ESXi after the Broadcom acquisition. So to be honest, I don't know how to download it. But what I can do, I just shared a Google Drive link with you guys in the chat box where I have the ISO image of ESXi available. Lukman Nasir also shared a picture. Let me open that. This is a picture he just shared. Lukman, is it the FortiGate firewall or another firewall? Mr. Lukman Nasir. Okay, got it. Thank you, Lukman. Which model? Guys, I just shared a link with you guys and you can download this ISO image from the Google Drive folder. This is my folder, so I just uploaded some of the images. It has a Windows 10 ISO images, and I'm also going to upload the VMware Workstation ISO image because you would need it as well for the lab, so we can do it. Okay. Use firewall has 2 ports and one is assigned WAN network and other is for doing. And firewall IP is assigned executive. Okay, yes, Usman Javed, thank you. So that's great that many of the people here, they are familiar with firewalls. So that's good to me. Okay, so you need a hardware, right? And on top of the hardware, you will install ESXi hypervisor. Again, if you don't have a spare hardware, how you are going to build your lab? So we will do a trick here. I think all of you have a laptop, right? And on top of the laptop, you have Windows 10 or 11 installed, I believe. So what you can do, you can install a software called VMware Workstation. Install this software. It is a type 2 hypervisor. Once you do that, then create a virtual machine and install ESXi on top of the virtual machine. Right? So you can do it. So just consider this, that this is your actual hardware, right? What will be the network setting of this virtual machine? In VMware Workstation, we got VMnet 1, which is used for internal communication. And another port will be VMnet 0, which is used for bridge. So the ESXi, which we have like this one, it will have two interfaces. One will be connected to DSL modem. It will be considered as WAN port. And the other will be connected to the switch like this. So it will be considered as my LAN. Right? So let's do this lab. First of all, let me open my lab. Right? I already created a virtual machine here. So I'm going to shut down this VM. And let me do it from the start. VMware Workstation installation is very easy. If you don't know the VMware installation workstation, I also have a lecture uploaded on my YouTube channel. You can watch that. So first of all, once you open the VMware Workstation, the first thing is download the ESXi ISO image. I already shared the Google Drive link in the chat box. You can download it from there. Create a virtual machine like this, ESXi, and I will write ESXi dash FortiGate workshop, and we will click next. Let's assign one processor and 4 cores, because in my machine I have CPUs available, so I will assign 4 cores. You can assign 2 cores as well. That's fine if your laptop does not have much RAM. I can assign 122, 12288 means almost 12 GB RAM. You can use 8 GB RAM or even 4 GB RAM should work, right? And the first interface will be bridge. Bridge means it will be connected to my physical network. So it will be considered as my WAN interface. Create a virtual disk. So first I will attach 140 GB disk. This video is already uploaded regarding the VMware ESXi, so which is why I'm not going to explain all the things. Let me attach another hard disk as well that will be used for my virtual machine storage. I got one network adapter connected to VMnet 0, and let me attach another adapter connected to VMnet 1. And I don't need USB. I think everything looks good. And use ISO images. I will attach the ESXi ISO image. Where is VMware stuff? vSphere 8. This is the ISO image. I just attach it. So this is my configuration. So just consider that we have a server hardware. Just assume that this is our actual hardware, right? Physical hardware, Dell HPE, which got two network adapter. One is connected to our switch, and which has my internal users connected, and the other is connected to the DSL modem, let's say, for now. And this is my ISP and internet. In our case, the DSL modem IP address is 192.168.19.1. So this interface IP will be in this range. And for our lab, we will use this interface IP address as 50.1, and all the client's machine gateway IP address will be 50.1. So I believe you are familiar with firewalls things, right? So I'm not here to explain the networking portion, we are not here to discuss the firewall actual configuration, just the deployment. And on top of this, we are going to install ESXi. Okay, before starting our lab, let me tell you one tricky point. When you log into the VMware workstation, go to Edit Settings and click Virtual Network Editor. Once you go there, you can click Change Settings and select Host Only and make sure the DHCP option is disabled. So always use this one. Disable the DHCP of your internal network, which is inside the VMware workstation. What are these three things? I have a video uploaded on my YouTube lecture regarding VMware workstation networking. You can watch that lecture before doing this lab. First, you will understand that what is the difference between VMnet 8, VMnet 0, VMnet 1. So, but let me tell you, must disable this. Do not use a check. Keep this box as a check. So I will do it. Looks like everything looks good. So first we will install ESXi hypervisor, right? So let me create a network for you people here. So let's assume that you have a question. You have any question, you can ask question, guys. In the meantime, I will draw a diagram so that I can explain what are we actually trying to do. So we got a small network, which is PC1, PC2, PC3, right? And I have a spare hardware, let's say a server hardware, right? Which has two network adapter. One is connected to network switch, internal switch. And we got another adapter, which is connected to DSL modem, right? And then that is my ISP, right? And we got internet. So once you install ESXi hypervisor, right? Let me explain it. Once you install ESXi hypervisor, what happened actually, automatically a virtual switch is created. And that is called vSwitch 0. This is a default switch, which is created after installation of the ESXi. Let's do the installation in the, okay. And what happened? This interface will be connected to the switch, which is called uplink. And on virtual switch, a default port group will be created which is a virtual machine port group. So when you are creating virtual machine on top of the ESXi, what happened actually? Each virtual machine has its own virtual NIC, VNIC, and that VNIC will be connected here, like this, right? So let's say we have Windows 10 VM and both are connected here. So by default, the IP address of these Windows 10 virtual machine will be 19 dot something. And the gateway of these virtual machine will be directly DSL mode. So the first thing we will be doing here, let me show you. The first thing we will be doing here is we will be creating another switch, right? vSwitch 1. Let's say vSwitch 1. That will be our first task when you log into ESXi host. Then we will connect this adapter to the vSwitch 1. And on top of the vSwitch 1, we will create a virtual machine port group with the name of LAN. We will write LAN to that port group. And we will connect these virtual machines here. So now these virtual machines are a part of my internal network. Once we do this thing, right, then we will deploy a FortiGate Firewall appliance. So this is the virtual machine which has, we got a virtual machine which has FortiGate Firewall deployed. The OS of FortiGate Firewall is FortiGate Firewall. So the minimum recommendation of that machine will be, it will have one port connected to LAN switch and the other will be connected here. Right? So this will be the interface of, this will be the WAN interface of the firewall. And this will be the LAN interface of the firewall. And this will be our network. So let's say if this machine wants to access the internet, so the request will be like this. Then firewall will filter that based on policies that will be installed. Are you getting my point? Any question, guys? If you don't know what is vSphere switch, virtual switch, and all these things, so I do have a lecture also available on that. So you guys can watch my video regarding virtual switches, right? Okay, I just started installation and I will open a browser here in this machine. And let me log into visit my YouTube channel and let me share some helping lectures for you people. VMware Workstation Technical, okay. Is this my video? Yes, this is my video. So if you don't know how to install VMware Workstation, this is the first video. You need to watch it. Okay, Farhad, I'm not going to share the FortiGate ISO. I'm going to show you how to download your own version of FortiGate ISO. Okay, let me scroll down to other one. VMware ESXi installation and configuration, you can watch this video. And based on that, you can learn how to install this one. So for this, to work on these lab, you need to understand vSphere standard networking. So this is my other lecture regarding vSphere networking. It's almost 2 hours lecture. Once you watch that, then you can work on that. Okay. So finally, the ESXi installation is done. See, once the ESXi installation is done, right? Then you can do the basic configuration and log into the host and deploy the FortiGate firewall on top of the ESXi. I have a question from Mr. Rahim, and his question is, can we install FortiGate firewall appliance on VMware Workstation? Yes. You can skip this thing, the one which I'm doing right now, and you can simply deploy the FortiGate firewall here on the VMware Workstation. But the reason why I have decided to deploy it on the ESXi, because in industry, people deploy firewall on the ESXi host and not on VMware Workstation. So that's the main reason I decided to show you how you can deploy firewall on the ESXi. Let me do the basic configuration of my host. I'm going to assign a management IP address to the host. So let's say I will use 160 IP of the host. I'm going to disable IP version 6 and this one. So all of the things, ESXi host means, yes, the hardware which has hypervisor installed, Mr. Zaralam. So I just did the basic configuration of the firewall, and let me save these things. Okay, let me open CMD and let me start pinging 119.160, which is my host. That is. Once my host is ready, I will log into my ESXi host, and then we will do the basic configuration, which I mentioned that we are going to create another standard switch, and we are going to deploy, create a port group on top of that. So I think my host is available. So you can log into your host using browser like this. Username will be root. I think the host is not ready yet, so I should wait for a while. And root. Mr. Zaralam, your question is that in industry, FortiGate firewall is used as a hardware or on virtual machine. So it depends on the environment, right? Okay. So once you log into the host, guys, the first thing is you need to add the additional disk. Why we are adding this? It is mentioned in my ESXi lecture. So please watch that lecture and you will get the idea that why we need a data store. Data store is basically a storage to host your virtual machine, right? To store virtual machine data. Let me show you one thing. That is the main thing. When you go to networking, you can see by default vSwitch 0 is created, and you can see the adapter. This is the VM NIC. VM NIC is basically the uplink. That adapter is basically connected to DSL. And you can see we have this management IP address assigned. This port is called VM kernel port group. And this is the port group, which is called VM network. So the first thing is you can click here. You can rename this port group and you can mention this as WAN port. And another thing is when you go to security, okay, do this thing. Change the port name to WAN so that you can understand. And another setting will be required is go to edit settings of the virtual switch and expand the security setting all to accept. Why we are doing this? This is mentioned in my lecture, vSphere networking lecture. Atif, I'm taking a break after a while. Okay, you can save it. So these are the two settings you need to perform. Go to edit settings, security, accept, and change the name of the port group to WAN port. So this will be our WAN port for the virtual machine. Once you are done with this thing, the second step will be to create another standard switch. Okay. I have a question from Munib that if we can implement firewall on VMware workstation, so why we need to do it on the ESXi? So let me answer it again. Basically, in production environment, people do not deploy firewall on VMware workstation. They will definitely use ESXi to run their firewall. ESXi is more reliable than VMware workstation. So that's the main reason. Yes, for your home lab, you can implement what you can do, you can implement the setting on VMware workstation. That is possible. Okay, add standard virtual switch. Let me give it a name, internal switch. The uplink, which is my LAN interface, this is the uplink. And I will also change the setting of this switch to accept. And I will create another switch. And you need to have a port group. So we need to create a port group, give it a name LAN, and select internal switch 1. Now look at here. We got another switch on my host, right, which is a LAN virtual machine port group and which is an interface connected to the internal switch. Let me show you. That is the story. I just configured this scenario. This was the virtual switch already created. And this switch has my VM kernel port group for management. It is not a good practice in production environment, but since this is our home lab, so let's keep it as it is. I don't want you to confuse. I don't want to make you guys in trouble. So let's leave this as it is. Let's use the same management IP. In production, the best practice is to move the management VM kernel port group to internal switch so that you can work on ESXi host like this, right? Okay, so this is the ESXi configuration. Now let's focus on this thing, FortiGate Firewall. Guys, my session will be till 6:15. So I think after 6:15, you can pray Asr. So let's continue like this. Okay. So step number 1. The step number 1 is go to Fortinet support. Once you go to Fortinet support, you can create an account. So I think let me create account for one of the folk. Account name, account email. Okay, any volunteer wants a Fortinet account? Okay, Malik Zaralam. Okay, I will go for you. No, you are not a government user. Count? Yes, Zaralam is a human. Select the dangerous animal with a click. Which one is dangerous? I think these are the two dangerous animals. Two dangerous animals. Right? And get verification code. Zaralam, are you comfortable sharing the... I think I put the wrong email address. Let me... Thank you, Mr. Let me create a new account. I have already created my account, but it's Gmail, right, Zaralam? You are human. Please, it does not have a pair. Does not have a pair, this one. This one. And get verification code. Zaralam, please post the verification code here. What is the code? Have you posted your code? 462 462 432 and next. So finally, we have created an account. I'm going to use a password. Zaralam, I will WhatsApp you the password. First name Malik. Last name is Zaralam. Title is Security Analyst. Company is Secure Purple. By the way, I'm also a part of Secure Purple. Okay, I will pass these. So we are basically creating an account for Mr. Zaralam. I think the registration is completed. And once you log into the portal, let me log into the portal here. What is the password? Okay, sorry, what is the username? This one. And finally, I think you got a code again, Mr. Zaralam. You can share it again. Code. Okay, guys. So once you create an account, this will be the first page. You can click support and you can click VM images. After that, on the left side, you can select the platform as VMware ESXi. So once you click that, automatically all these settings will be changed. You can scroll down and you can download the 98.44 MB image. And the downloading will be started. Let me pause recording for a while. Okay, guys, so you can see here, finally, the FortiGate virtual appliance is downloaded. Once you open this thing, create a folder in your laptop with any name, for example, FortiGate VM or appliance, and extract all the files. Which folder? The folder you create, right? So that is the story. These are all the files. So this is the complete FortiGate virtual appliance. So log into your host, go to virtual machines, and click create or register VM. After that, you can click deploy a VM from an OVF or OVA, because we are not going to create a virtual machine from the scratch. So we will go for the second option. You can give it a name. Give it a name, for example, FortiGate Firewall, and select all the files, right? Once you click next, it will ask for storage. So select the storage of the host. Click the license agreement, right? There are two options here. Network mapping. Which interface you want to use for external? So we will select WAN. On the backend, we already did the configuration. And which interface you want to use for internal? So I will select LAN. So that is the mainstream. So initially, once we deploy this firewall, our firewall will have only two interfaces. One will be connected to WAN, the other will be connected to LAN. You can leave the other option as it is. Click next. There are some additional options. You can skip these settings and you can simply click finish. Once you do this, you can review that the firewall is deployed. One more thing, I think the firewall is already deployed, but let me tell you one thing. We also need a Windows 10 virtual machine for testing purpose. Let me go back to my lab. So we need a Windows 10 virtual machine, at least one. So you also need to install a Windows 10 VM on the ESXi for the lab practice. Otherwise, if you have physical machines, you can work on these. But let me show you. To install Windows 10 VM here, to create, first you need to browse the data store, create a directory with any name, let's say ISO images, and upload Windows 10 ISO image. I already have a Windows 10 ISO image. So here is Windows 10. So I will upload this one, right? Once the ISO image is uploaded, then we need to create a Windows 10 virtual machine, right? But let's focus here for now. Finally, our FortiGate firewall is ready. It's deployed. The deployment process is still under process, so we can wait for a moment. And you can also check here. I will pause for a while. Finally, the FortiGate firewall is deployed. but the default username is admin. And by default, there is no password, so you can click enter. Okay, let me tell you one thing. What are we trying to do? This is the FortiGate firewall. So we are going to assign IP address to WAN interface. It will be 19.165/24, and the gateway will be, that will be the IP address. And the LAN IP address of the firewall will be so what is our task now? We are going to assign IP addresses to both interfaces, and also we are going to allow HTTP, HTTPS, and ping, telnet, SSH, FGMT management, right? On the firewall, these services. This is our task actually, so that we can access our firewall from the browser. Right? So log into your firewall. Without password, it will ask for new password, so you can give a password, so that will be the password. Once you log into that, the first thing you need to write to check the interface. So I just write a command, show system interface, and I can see port 1, port 2, right? Because we only have 2 ports here. So what I'm going to do now, we can write a command, config system interface. Once you write here, write this thing, it will give you, it will change the mood to interfaces. So which interface we are going to configure now? For example, we are going to configure port number 2, which is our LAN port. So we will write edit port 2 and enter. So now you can see we are inside port number 2. And you can set IP address, set IP, and we can write the IP 50.1. And I think we can write /24 directly. So that is the IP address of the port number 2. The next command would be set allow access we can allow ping, HTTP, HTTPS, telnet, SSH, FGFM. I think it's FGFM. You can allow it. And let me press end. And let's write show system interface. So once you write question mark, right, it can also show you port number 2 is static. The IP address is 192.168.50.1. So I need a Windows 10 VM now, so that I can communicate with this firewall. So for that, we can create a Windows 10 VM. Windows 10 32-bit, and this window VM will be connected to which interface? LAN. And it's look good. I can upload the ISO image, attach the ISO image, and I can install Windows 10. Right? So this is the Windows 10 machine. The first thing we are going to do now, we are going to assign an IP address to the Windows 10 machine, and that will be 192.168.50. Are you getting my point, guys? The Windows 10 machine IP address will be in the same range of the firewall LAN IP address. So let me assign the IP address 192.168. Sorry guys, installation is in progress. 92.168.50 dot, let's say 20, and 50.1 is the gateway. Right? So this is the IP. Let me try to ping my firewall. So connect different lanes. Yes, we can, but that is something VLANs can be configured, Atif. But our lab is basic today, so we will be only focusing on single VLAN, right? So let me try to ping my firewall. My firewall is responding. The reason, because we have configured the LAN IP address, and we also allowed the ping and HTTP. So once you are done with this thing, you can open a browser and you can write the IP address of the firewall 50.1. The username is admin, password is admin, right? Once you log in here, then I need to open a browser again, and I will write HTTPS 50.1 ether some of the why it is not showing. Wait, looks like we got some issue here. I need to try another browser. Give me 1 second, guys. Have this another Windows 10 machine available, but first I need to assign the IP address in the same range. Right? So this is the first interface. Once you log into the firewall, right? So you can click evaluation license, and you can put the email address. It was Malik Zaralam. What was the email, guys? This, which one is that? Can you post your email again? Okay, Malik Zaralam @gmail.com. And the password is updating. Okay. So that is the first, right? So finally, we have done. Once we log into the firewall again, the next step will be to configure the WAN interface of the firewall, and then we will define a default gateway, allow internet to the firewall. And let me tell you one thing, by default, once you deploy FortiGate Firewall, there is a rule which blocks all the traffic. So by default, this Windows 10 PM, let me show you. If we try to ping our firewall LAN IP address, we can, but we cannot access the internet because by default, the firewall does not allow any internet, any traffic to the outside world. So we will create a simple rule. Once we see the ping request here, then we will conclude our session. Right? So let me log into the firewall now. Once you log into the firewall, right? Migrate config with Forti converter, I can click later. I don't need it. Disable auto pages, yes, for now. And I can do these settings later. And finally, this is the interface of the FortiGate firewall. We will go to network setting, or I think I should go to which option? Network and interfaces. I can see two interfaces. One is port 2, which has 50.1, and the other one has port 1. And by default, 19.11 IP address is seen. And why is that? Because there is a DHCP and DSL modem, so which is why we got 19.11. But we need to change it to this one. So what I will do, I will click here. I will click edit. After that, I will give it a name that this is my WAN interface. And I will change the address to manual. And I will write 165 and click OK. That's it. So finally, I have changed the IP address, which is 165. I can also rename this port 2 with LAN. And I can click OK. That's it. This is my LAN interface and WAN interface. Go to routing, static routes, and assign a gateway to the firewall. For which interface, which will be the gateway? 19.1, the DSL IP. So in which interface we can put WAN and click send. So you can do this. Again, we are not here to learn firewall. We just need to deploy a firewall, and the rest is another story. By default, you can see our Windows 10 machine is not able to access the internet. So when you go to policy, right, firewall policy, by default, there is a policy called implicit. Everything is blocked. Right? You can see all is denied. So we can create another policy, but before that, what we can do, we can go to addresses and we can create a LAN address. Like for example, we can write internal network and which interface, LAN interface, and what is the network, that is 50.1, 50.0 slash this. So I just create an address here so that I can use this address in my policy configuration. So I can create new and give it a name, allow internet, incoming interface will be LAN, outgoing will be WAN, request will be coming from internal network, destination will be, let's say, all, everything I want to give it access, sorry, right? And I think I don't need any. I can go to services and I can allow every service, all. I want to allow HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, everything. Once we do this, we can go to Windows 10 machine and see we are able to access it. We can open a browser. We can see the internet will be working, right? So that is the end of the story, right? Again, completed. We deployed a firewall and we are done. So I hope you have learned something new. Inshallah, see you in my next webinar session if we save the recording.